In August and September, the government introduced some changes to the planning system that create new rights for householders and for commercial businesses to undertake certain works without planning permission that previously were needed. This video briefly outlines those changes. There is a new permitted development right for householder extensions. This allows you to create additional stories on top of your house. The right allows you to have 2 additional stories to houses which already have 2 stories or more in height, or 1 additional story if your house is a 1-story dwelling at the moment. The new stories must be immediately above the highest story at the moment on your house. The right also includes the engineering operations that are necessary to undertake that construction. There are certain exceptions to where these rights don't apply. This includes areas of the country such as conservation areas, areas of outstanding natural beauties, the Broads and the national parks, World Heritage Sites, and sites of special scientific interest. Also, if the building was constructed before the 1st of July 1948 or after the 28th of October 2018, it doesn't apply to those properties either. The rights also do not apply if your house has already been extended by having an additional story, either by permitted development or through a grant of planning permission. There are restrictions on the size of the extension that can be permitted under these new rights. For 1-story dwellings, the height of the new story can only be 3.5 metres high, and for 2 or more story dwellings it's 7 metres. The total height of the house cannot be more than 18 metres high. The extension can only be on the principal part of the house, which is the main part of the house, and any extensions which are a lower height to the property. And there are not to be any windows in the side elevation, and the roof pitch of the extension to the roof must match that of the existing property. The materials have to be used of a similar appearance to the existing property. These new rights for extension cannot just be undertaken without notifying the council. You have to go to the council and ask for what's called prior approval. You have to submit to the council details of the proposed extension, and the council will consider matters including the impact of the amenity on adjoining properties, which concerns matters of overlooking, privacy and loss of light. They can consider the external appearance and design and architecture of the extension, but only on the principal elevation and any side elevation fronting a highway. The council will also consider whether the extension has an effect on air traffic and defence impacts and certain protected views. And you must also provide a report on the construction management and the hours of operation for when you're undertaking the building works to ensure there's no harm to neighbours. Following the prior approval process, if all is agreed with the council, then you have 3 years to implement the works. The government has also announced permitted development, which allows dwellings to be built on the top of existing blocks of flats and certain commercial properties. These are properties that are self-contained and detached buildings, and can only apply to those which are built on or after the 1st of July 1948 and on or before the 5th of March 2018. Any such building cannot be part of a listed building or a scheduled monument or in the curtilage of those properties, and they cannot lie within a conservation area, area of outstanding natural beauty, site of special scientific interest, Broad or national park or World Heritage Site, also safety hazard areas or military explosives land, and also land which is within 3 kilometres of an aerodrome. The limitations on the erection of these new floors to create flats have limits on the height. The new building cannot be more than 7 metres higher than the highest point of the existing roof, and they must not impinge on a protected view. Also, submission of details has to be sent to the council for prior approval. This includes the highways and traffic impact of the development, any air traffic and defence impacts, contamination risks, flooding risks, and information on the external appearance of the building. The council will also consider the impact of the provision of natural light to all the new dwellings created, the impact on the amenity of the building on neighbouring properties, including overlooking, privacy and loss of light. If the council give their agreement to the prior approval process, then the new dwellings may be liable to community infrastructure levy payments, but are unlikely to be liable to any Section 106 payments, and you have 3 years in which to undertake the development. The government has undertaken a change to the use classes order. The use of buildings and land in the country is generally split into various classes set out in the schedule, which is defined by the government. This change has combined certain uses and taken others out of other use classes. It provides for a new class, Class E, of commercial, business and services, and 2 other classes, Class F1, learning and non-residential institutions, and F2, local community. The changes which are important are the combination of shops, financial professional services, cafes and restaurants, indoor sports and fitness, medical health facilities, and creche and nurseries, and office and business use. Those are all now combined into the single use class, Class E, so any use within that class is not development. It doesn't need planning permission. There are some other changes to the use classes order which introduce more restrictions rather than the flexibility of the new use class E. There's added protection against the loss of learning and non-residential community facilities, including museums and public halls and local shops. These are included in the new use classes F1 and F2. There's also the inclusion of what could be called bad neighbour town centre uses into the list of sui generis use. That means they fall outside any use class. This includes uses such as pubs and bars and takeaways, and cinemas and live music venues. For further information and help on town planning, see the website townplanningknowhow.co.uk.